Hi there, this is Kevin from MaximizingEcommerce.com. And if you're wondering about some of the options for having an FBA business in Europe, selling on Amazon, this is the right video for you because we're going to talk about some of those different options. It's not like in North America where it's pretty much FBA is one thing and storing your inventory in one country is one thing. Like if you go in Canada and the US, your inventory is completely separate from one another. Other than you just have one sign-in to the both countries, they're all completely separate. But in Europe, it's a whole lot different. You got a lot more options, and there's different ramifications of each. So in this video, we're going to go over what those options are. So just to go over a few things as far as your different options that you have as a seller in Europe for fulfillment by Amazon. One of the main things is just understand there's always going to be some VAT implications. It's a little more complex, the tax situation is, than it would be here in the United States where I'm based. So I would definitely check with a tax professional. Anything I'm sharing here is more just kind of broad strokes. It doesn't fit with anyone's necessarily unique tax situation. So make sure you do check with it. But I'll give you some broad general implications that I've found through my research, not a professional tax person by any stretch of the imagination. So one thing to keep in mind is one of your options is selling from one country. So you send your inventory into one country, you store your inventory in one country, and you only sell there. So for example, let's say you were going to sell in the United Kingdom, you send your inventory into the United Kingdom and your inventory is there. You make an order or somebody buys something, FBA ships it out for you, you're all set. You're just in the UK, just in that one country. Generally speaking, especially if you're from a foreign land, you're probably going to end up having to register for VAT in that country. It's simple. It's not as complex as it sounds, but it makes the situation a lot simpler when you're just in one country. But there's a lot of opportunity. Think about the hundreds of millions of people that don't live in any one particular country in the European Union. You want to open up a wider net so that you have the ability to sell to more people. So one of those that you could do is the European Fulfillment Network, sometimes known as the EFN. And we'll talk a little bit more about EFN, but it's basically you send your inventory into one country, and then when someone buys in another country, then it just gets shipped from your one home base, so to speak, country of where the inventory is housed. Then there's PanEuropean FBA, very similar. Inventory goes into one country, but then it's dispersed and stored in other countries. So it's not just sent to the different countries once it's sold, it's actually stored in those fulfillment centers. So there's a higher likelihood than with EFN that you'd have more VAT registrations. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then there's multi-country inventory where you specifically pick and choose. I want to just be selling in, let's say, France and Italy. So you're going to send stuff into France and you're going to send stuff into Italy. It's kind of like as if you were in the US and Canada. It's that kind of arrangement. Would be the simplest way to explain it, but I'll go into a little bit more depth on these here in just a moment. So first off, let's talk about the European Fulfillment Network, EFN. Truly, it is the simplest way to expand into other European marketplaces. All you got to do is just add listings in other countries. Now, if you're going from, let's say, an English-speaking marketplace like the UK to German-speaking marketplace like Germany, you're going to want to get your listings translated. You probably want to have someone else check the translation just to make sure, especially if you're not a German speaker, just to make sure everything makes sense, because you want to make sure that the client or the customer experience is going to be a good one. But bottom line, it's pretty simple. You just basically just add your listings into the other countries, and then you're going to still send in your inventory to one country. So your inventory is going to be sent to one country and housed and stored in just that one country. So if doesn't have to be the UK, but let's just use the example if you're using the UK. So you started selling in the UK, then you wanted to branch out into Germany. All you got to do is turn on your listings in Germany. Somebody buys in Germany. then it gets shipped out to that German customer. Now, you're going to pay a slightly higher fulfillment fee than you would if you had inventory stored in Germany. And the nice thing is that you have all of your inventory managed in one pool. So depending on your thresholds for what you're selling in the various countries, you might not have VAT requirements in those other countries, but that's something you definitely want to talk to a professional about. All right, so then the next option would be Pan-European FBA. So it's pretty similar to the European Fulfillment Network, where basically you send in your inventory to one country, but then the inventory is going to be dispersed by Amazon into their other fulfillment centers in the other countries. So the nice thing is the clients, the customers, are going to get their packages sooner because it's going to be coming from a fulfillment center closer to them rather than coming from a country like the UK where it has to go farther, depending on where it's sold. But one of the other nice things is that with Pan-European, there are savings on the fulfillment fees. And the one of the drawbacks to that is higher likelihood than with EFN that you would have to register for VAT. Because one of the things I've found in my research, now again, do your own research, but one thing I've found in my research is that with VAT, one of the components to it is if you have a physical presence, so like you have inventory stored there, pretty much as soon as you go into that country with inventory stored there, you're going to have to register. So if you have higher thresholds and you would have had to have registered anyway, or if you're going to be in all these different countries, the cost savings could work itself out for you. So, but definitely do your own research on that part. Don't take it just from me there. Then your other option is going to be multi-country inventory. So it's kind of similar to Pan-European, that you've got inventory stored in other countries, but you actually just pick and choose. So rather than just Amazon sends it out to all the different countries, however they feel like their algorithm says is going to be best for shipping it to wherever people are buying, you pick and choose. So you could say, I only want to store inventory in Spain and I only want to store inventory in France. So you send inventory into Spain and you send inventory into France, and they just live there. So it's a lot more similar to like if you were doing Canada and the US, for example, in North America, because they're two completely separate countries. That's kind of the way you would want to look at it here. You do have more control on which countries the inventory is stored in. So, for example, if you weren't selling to people in Germany in that example, then you wouldn't have to worry about registering in Germany. But Pan-European, pretty much once you turn that on, they're sending it to all their countries. And you do enjoy that lower fulfillment fee than with the European Fulfillment Network in the countries that you house your inventory. So hopefully this all makes sense. I know it can be a little bit daunting at first when you start looking into different fulfillment types, and you start looking into the VAT registrations and whatnot. Don't let that get in your way. If this is something you want to do and you want to expand into Europe, pick a country and go into it, and then start doing European Fulfillment Network and go into additional countries once you got your listings translated. And then if you start getting a lot of sales, then do Pan-European. That would be my suggestion. You may want to talk again to a tax advisor on that, but I think that's probably going to be for most people the best bet. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, I would ask that you go down below. There's a little thumbs up icon. If you click that, as well as the subscribe button and the little bell so that we can notify you whenever we have a new video that comes out. And then as well, if you have any questions or anything we can help you with, or ideas for future videos, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And we'll do our best to answer as many of the comments as possible, and definitely we'll at least read all of the comments. So also, if you'd like, you can go on over to www.maximizingecommerce.com. You can sign up on our mailing list so that we can send you more exclusive resources and tips and hints to help you as you maximize your e-commerce business. So I want to thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and thank you for being you. So you have a great day. Thanks.